very near the end of MRO Europe on the second day in Barcelona. Things are definitely quietening down around us, but you can probably still hear a little bit of the hubbub of people doing business and maybe the odd drinks on stands happening. And so for our last interview of this year's event, I'm on the Avion stand with Ron Sever, who is the CEO of Avion, and they're a US-based parts supplier to the industry and parts and components supplier. Welcome, Ron. Thanks for joining us on Avion. We were chatting before we started this and about what you do for the industry. So just explain that and how you are bringing through parts pooling, you are bringing a service which was previously only really available to the big boys in the industry.
Correct. Thank you very much. It was a very busy conference for us. It seems like the world, the aviation world, the commercial aviation world is really coming out of COVID. It started last year, and now we can actually see it, and we can also see it also in the spare part requirement. Avion System is being supplying spare parts to the commercial aviation industry for the last 20 years, 24 years actually, to be precise. And when people ask me, what do you really do? I mean, beside actually providing spare part, we really provide the solution.
Yeah.
We give the airline the solution of making sure the aircraft are in the air and not on the ground waiting for spare parts. Spare parts supply, we're always a very sensitive topic to airlines, especially to the small and medium size. If you're one of the biggest, Lufthansa or British Airways, American Airlines, you have no issue, you have everything in stock. But if you're a small or medium size, 5, 10, 20, 30 aircraft, usually you don't have all the parts you need to manage your aircraft, to support your aircraft on site.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to go out and bring your own parts. So of course one solution would be to put everything on house, on site. It would be very, very expensive, and you really don't know what you're going to need tomorrow. Those airplanes are being, they have thousands of parts on them: avionics, hydraulics, pneumatics, starter, valves, pumps, toilet assemblies, everything. And you really don't know what's going to break tomorrow morning, and you have to get ready to, when something breaks, you're going to need it. So as I said, one of the solutions is to have everything on site. That's very expensive, and again, for a smaller company that very often is very cash constrained, it's not always the best option.
Yeah.
And then you have to start looking for solution outside with company like Avion there is different solution. And again, one solution is just to buy part by part when you need it. It's not the most economical way, but most importantly, it's not the best way to resolve it from the operational side of view. And the last thing you want as a small or medium-sized company is to have cancellations of flights because lack of parts. And when I say lack of parts, it can be because of a small radio or antenna or valve or escape slide. You can cancel a flight, which means 300 people in a hotel, excessive expenses, and that's frustrated customers.
That's tricky at the minute because you can't get hold of these parts. It wouldn't be so bad if you could just click your fingers and there they were.
No.
That's not how it works. It never has been, but it's particularly bad at the minute.
It takes time. Sometimes they're in the other side of the world. Sometimes it's during a weekend or holiday or middle of the night. Those airplanes fly 24/7. And that's where we come and we provide a different kind of solution. And it's a solution that until recently was really kind of reserved to some of the bigger players and offered by the bigger players, by the SR Technique of the world and the Lufthansa Technique and Air France KLM and ST Aerospace, where they provide the part as you need them and you pay by flight hour. Well, PBH, power by the hour, ATP, access to pool, and then basically you pull the part with those companies and you need them. When you need them, you're being supplied. Today, or the last few years, because we've been very, very involved in aircraft dismantling, and we have a very, very big, large amount of parts in our stock worldwide, we started offering this kind of solution to also small and medium size. And they are exactly the one that have been looking for this solution. We've been sitting down with management, with technical planning, and with operational people from those airlines, that this is exactly what we need. We need parts that will be widely available to us within hours. And when I say within hours, it's sometime within 6 hours. Some of our contractual obligation call for 6 hours.
You're contracted to get it there in 6 hours.
Contracted to 6 hours. This is usually with AOG, aircraft on ground. 6 hours, sometimes 12 hours, depending on the contract. And we are contractually obligated to supply those parts to those airlines within a very short amount of time. And basically the way we do it, we take small airlines with 10, 20, 30 aircraft. We take quite a few of them, 10, 20, 30 airlines of those. Now altogether, we have 200-300 aircraft that belong to separate airlines.
Like a virtual fleet.
Virtual fleet, but for us, of the same type, of course, 737-800, 777-200, and so forth. And we treat them as one airline. For us, it's one fleet. So now we can share the entire amount of parts we have in our stock among 200, 300 aircraft, which is really like one big aircraft.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. It's good for us because we're getting different contracts from different airlines, but it's mainly good for the airline because now they have a good solution for us without having the need to store all those parts in-house and spend millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those parts are really expensive.
And how do you manage that then? Because then that puts the onus on you to manage your inventory so that you're not having
That's a good question.
stuff sitting there you don't need.
That's a good question. But again, once we have 200-300 airplanes under our support agreement, of course, the rotation of the parts is much faster.
Yeah, sure.
And the trick here, of course, is to rotate the part as often as you need.
Yeah.
If you rotate one part once a year, then you lost. You lost on the part because you have the carrying cost, you have the acquisition cost. You lost. But if you rotate it 6, 7, 8 times a year to customers, and when I say rotate, you bring them the good part.
Yep.
You get back the core, the defective part. You send it to the shop. 2 or 3 weeks, you put it back on the shelf, waiting for the next requirement.
Okay.
If you can rotate those units 6, 7 times a year, then we made our profit, and the airplanes are in the air flying, and that's really what we do.
Yeah.
We rotate this inventory as much as we can. The only way we can do it is we take as many airplanes, as many airlines under our umbrella at one time, and this is really the trick, if we can call it a trick.
Yeah.
This is how we manage our inventory. Of course, we have to have very, very advanced IT tools.
I was going to say, the tech must help you with that.
Software, you must have a software because you must have statistics analysis of how often do you need every part, which will derive at the fact of how many parts do you need.
Yeah.
Because again, if you need tomorrow a part to an airline, you don't have it, you are breaching your contractual obligations.
Where do you get your data from then? I mean, not everyone allows this data to be used by third parties.
That's a great question. So first of all, we have our own data because we've been selling parts to airlines for the last 24 years.
Okay.
So for every fleet, we know exactly how much you need of each. So we know the wheels and brakes are very, very often being replaced because of the very high wear and tear.
Yeah.
So we hold more in stock. Some other parts are less. So we have the data. We're using a quantum system, which in fact, I was actually the one that actually set up the company and started Quantum back in 1998.
Okay.
So I know. So we have some very advanced programming tools.
And Quantum is, just to explain.
Quantum is a inventory control system that we're using. Us and few thousand more users are using. So we're using it to analyze how many parts do you need for each part number to have in stock in order to support 40, 50, 100, 200 aircraft based on the usage per year and based on the time between overall, meaning how often are they being removed from aircraft.
Yeah.
You take all this information, you put it in a mixer, and you get out a number. Okay, you need 4 from this unit, 3 from this unit, 10 from this unit in order to support your contractual obligation and making sure those aircraft are in the air.
Yeah, and look, you said at the beginning about the buzz in the room over the last 2 days, an industry that feels like it's back and buzzing and happening. But if there's an overriding theme, it is, you mentioned AOG, is doing whatever we can as an industry to minimize AOG, to get planes in the air. Why? Because demand is very high, and really the struggles are on the supply side at the moment. So every efficiency you can gain out of the industry is really valuable now, isn't it? And that's what people are really focused on.
It's about the efficiency. Yeah. It's really about the efficiency while enabling the airline to fly those airplanes 10, 12, 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
They fly from 5, 6 in the morning until 10, 12, 1 o'clock at night for instance, for European, where we have where the airports are closed at night, and in the US even more. The efficiency is really the name of the game here. You have to make sure it's your spare part solution is being very, very efficient, and of course very, very economic. But we have to make sure those airplanes are flying. I've been talking to different airlines. Right now their capacity is about 120, 130% compared to 2019, to pre-COVID.
Yeah.
That's in Europe and the US. Asian airlines are still a little bit struggling. China a little struggling. They're a little bit behind, but they're also growing very, very fast. So that means that those airplanes fly all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. They have no time for them for any downtime for spare parts requirement. So that's something that they had to look for other solution.
Yeah.
So while on one side, making sure those airplanes fly 10, 12, 14 hours a day, they have a little time at night for maintenance, but they really have to make sure that the spare parts are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only way they can do it is, like I said, either stocking those parts or contracting a company like Avion Systems to make sure that whenever they need the part, will be on their doorstep.
Yeah.
And this is very challenging for both, for them and for us.
Sadly, talking about time and efficiency, we've run out of time for this little interview at MRO Europe, but that was a really fascinating insight into what you do. Final thought on, you've seen the industry for over many, many years. You've seen it change and develop. What do you assess where it is at the moment, where today as an industry? Is it achieving the kind of efficiencies that are sort of historic, really, compared to what you've experienced through your career?
Well, obviously what we see today, and I think it's going to grow for the next decade or so, we're going to see many more small airlines popping up.
Because they can be supported in this way as well, I guess.
There's more efficiency. Yeah. There's a lot of money out there, so there's a lot of demand for air travel.
Okay.
And I think there's going to be more and more airlines. I mean, we're very active, for instance, in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Just in Thailand, for instance, last 12 months, 11 new airlines.
Right.
11 new airlines between leisure and business traveling. We're working in Korea, same thing. Quite a few new airlines. So all those airlines will need solution. We need to be very, very efficient. Very, very efficient. Otherwise, they will disappear. Yeah. And it happened in the past. It will happen again. But I think today those airlines they understand that if they want to stay in business, if they want to do things the right way, they have to be much, much more efficient. Spare part supply is one of the areas. It's one of the areas. It's not the only one, but it's one of the areas where if you're not going to be sufficient. If you're going to be efficient, you will face many challenges of either very high cost and or flight cancellations, and just a way for them to manage competition in a much better way. So I think to summarize, I think you're going to be many more small airlines that will take advantage of this kind of agreement, this kind of contractual agreement, in order to resolve one of the biggest challenge, I believe, in aviation maintenance, which is the spare part supply.
Yeah, good. Aviation's always been a very entrepreneurial sector. Despite the tight profit margins that it offers, it's still one of those areas where entrepreneurs are sort of attracted to. So we'll see how that develops. Ron, look, thanks for your time. I hope you enjoyed your 2 days in Barcelona.
Love it here.
We'll see you here again.
Food is good.
Yeah, it's not bad. Weather's not too bad. And thanks for joining us on Avion.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers.